Hello, good morning. So we wait a couple of minutes. I think we are asking everyone to enter the room, and then we start. To put some music so people outside see that something is happening here, like loud music, because colleagues of ours will come to just to put some music on. Okay, thank you. Yeah? 1 minute music. So good morning, everyone. Dear participants, dear representatives of the Czech Republic government, dear representatives from the European Commission, dear sponsors, dear organizers, dear all, welcome to the European Big Data Value Forum 2022. As many of you know, this is the 6th edition of the European Big Data Value Forum, and we are organizing this in the beautiful city of Prague. We are very happy to be here. As Secretary General of the Big Data Value Association, I'm really pleased and honored to be here with you today, and I will be guiding you through some of the plenaries. First, you know the theme of our event, at the heart of the ecosystem for data and artificial intelligence. So that for us is a way to empower the communities, to empower you. It's also a way to really highlight the importance of the collaborations and the importance of bringing together organizations of different nature, different initiatives, to bring projects, members, and infrastructures, everything to create impact. And it's also a way to celebrate the great local ecosystem that the Czech Republic has on data and artificial intelligence. So this is our first EBDBF after 2019. Many of you were in Helsinki, right? How many of you were in Helsinki in 2019? Quite a lot of people, yeah. And since then, like many other events, we have been online. But still connected with countries and cities. So 2020, we organized the event in Germany, so to speak, Berlin. It was online, but connected. And then 2021, Slovenia in Ljubljana. And happily, we are now together in Prague and for real. So this event, we have over 400 people registered physically. And we will see, we have 3 days, so people will join along the 3 days. And we have representation from 34 different countries, 34. Mainly European, but we also have non-European representatives. And I would like to also welcome not only the people present here, but also the people who are watching us online, because we are streaming these plenaries. And just to finalize my introduction, I want to thank of course, all the organizers. I want to thank the sponsors. I want to thank all of you who are organizing sessions. And yeah, all of you who made the effort to be here in Prague. Thank you very much for making it possible. And now, with no more delay, I'm very honored to invite on stage Dr. Marek Haverda, and he's Deputy Minister for European Affairs at the Office of the Government of the Czech Republic. Thank you very much. The floor is yours, and thank you for joining.
Good morning, everyone, and it's really a great pleasure to be here today with you. First, let me extend my warm welcome to all of you to come to Prague for the Big Data Value Forum under the auspices of the Czech Presidency of the Council of the EU. And as some of you might know, I've been really involved, before taking the office about 10 months ago, I've been really involved in the AI field, so it's a really great pleasure that this conference, and with such a great program, takes place here today. Let me start with a few words about the Czech presidency that I would like to continue about what I envisage about the big data-enabled resilience, because this is one of the important topics of the presidency. And then I would like to finish with a few words on the regulation of AI and what we might need to do in order to do it right. And as I don't have to explain to you, I mean, this is very important to do it right. Well, the motto of the Czech presidency is Europe as a task. The motto comes from the speech of Václav Havel back in 1996. And Václav Havel was not alluding to the victory back in 1996. He was not alluding to the victory of the liberal democracy and the free market model. He was talking about that we need to take responsibility for the environmental, social, and economic issues, and that we need to act by the example. And this is very the motto of the Czech presidency. And it has, in English, it goes on. It's Europe as a task, rethink, rebuild, repower. And we, as the presidency, selected five areas, 5 topics as a main priorities of the presidency for this term. It is, not surprisingly, Ukraine, energy, then defense capabilities, including cybersecurity, and then resilience of the EU's economy, including the resilience of the supply chains and the resilience of democratic institutions. If we want to secure prosperity and resilience, I think not only we need to take a fresh look at the cooperation between the governments, business, and researchers, but we also need to start developing new approaches to the resilience based on data. In my view, the Russian aggression to Ukraine, against Ukraine, again confirms that need. The same is true for China. China is using technology for surveillance and societal control, which is simple and compatible with our values. And at the same time, we are losing the global battle of narratives in the global south. So we're losing the war on disinformation, particularly in Africa. Developing new types of cooperation between businesses and democratic governments is crucial to take the leap forward to harness data for the resilience of the economy and for the resilience of our democracies. Let me talk about big data-enabled resilience. From 2008, roughly, we live in the time of permanent crisis, from the financial crisis to economic crisis, migration crisis, and now, of course, the Russian-induced crisis, both in terms of the war on the continent, but as well the migration crisis and the crisis of energy. In crisis, it is quite simple how we can use the data. We need to understand the situation on the ground and how the shocks play out as much in the real time as possible. And there are many examples. Let me just use several to illustrate this. The data on the transactions during the COVID-19 help us to understand the development of inflation much better than the traditional approaches. And as well, it helps us to understand the distribution effects. So for example, the disproportionate impact on the low-income households. who actually experienced almost twice the inflation which was coming out of the official figures. The call details from the mobile phones and the geo data help us to understand the mobility patterns during the migration and refugee crisis. And as well can be used later for successful integration and support of the successful integration. Social media activity help us to understand how the flows of people actually see their situation themselves, so we can get some kind of understanding from the ground in terms of the perception of the situation and to understand their needs. This starts to be, of course, much more important as well in terms of facing natural disasters, and unfortunately we see more and more of them in terms of forest fires, droughts and floods due to the climate change. Using digital twins can help us to, for example, assess the impacts of the policies much faster than we could have done it in the past, and this was the case, for example, in terms of understanding the policies during the COVID crisis, for example, in Luxembourg. Yet, to become genuinely more resilient, it will require much more strategic effort. And let me share with you a few ideas how we could take this forward. We need to create a new form of partnership which will help us systematically assess the vulnerabilities which are at the societal, at the systems level, including the society, but as well in the systems level, including the supply chains. The public sector seems to be better positioned to coordinate the development of future scenarios. So this is the public sector role to help us to understand what the future scenarios might be. The private sector is often better positioned to understand in which aspects or which moments there might be the failure of the system. So to understand that very situation when the system may fail. This put together could help us to understand what are the data needs, of course, and as well to build the relevant models, especially and among others to build on the digital twins. Of course, research communities to work with both sides, with the public and private. This is no surprise, but that's a new situation what we need to do. But if we want to take it even more seriously and really to build long-term resilience, I think we need to go much further than that. We need to start working on building kind of an iterative process of developing the scenarios and understanding the critical failures in these scenarios. So one is to develop it as kind of a static system in a way, to understand what are the crucial systems and what models we need and what data we need in order to populate these models. But we should be trying to develop an iterative system, which would help us to build the new scenarios and to understand their vulnerabilities. Of course, this needs to be constantly updated. It's clear that they need to be updated through the understanding of the geopolitical situation, and I don't have to, there's not enough stress on this, having the war on the continent. Of course, they need to be updated in terms of the social development and the vulnerabilities they induced. And then the vulnerabilities of different systems which are crucial for our resilience, and supply chains come to the fore in that respect. Combining these approaches would help us to put together the future scenarios together with the vulnerabilities which are perceived by many of the actors from the field. And then would help us to build digital twins and simulations based on the data. This would help us to move towards a new type of governance, which I would call agile governance, if you want, or agile regulation. And so we would not be only looking for the optimizing for decisions which are good in one scenarios which we expect to happen, but we would try to actually minimize the negative impacts of plethora of scenarios which we identify are possible. So there is an important change from trying to optimize one scenario or in one scenario to going to as well, not only, well, not that we would not do that, but we would accompany this by trying to understand what are the negative potential scenarios and build the resilience against them. In other words, it's kind of putting in place based on data what when I was doing my PhD was called the robustness analysis. So the robustness analysis in the system thinking. Let me finish. Well, and as I said, not only highly agile approach to regulation, but as well it would allow for much more adaptive governance and regulation. So and all these are of course crucial cornerstone for resilience of any system. Well, let me finish with a few words on the regulation related to data and AI. What I started with the new approach of the cooperation between democratic governments and businesses and research communities is again exactly very valid for the regulation of AI. We shall aim for establishing two new approaches and build a new standards which would be in line what we call human-centric and human rights-based approach. As some of you might know, just a few weeks ago, the Czech Republic presented on the behalf of the EU27 a joint policy statement at the plenipotentiary of the ITU on the human-centric and human rights approach to technology, which was supported by some 60 countries. Let me just share with you a few ideas what we've been thinking, how we could operationalize human-centric, because this is quite difficult a task. First, it is that, in our view, human-centric means how we deal with the trade-offs which are inevitable in any deployment of AI. And when tackling these trade-offs, there needs to be several criteria which would help us to make the overall approach human-centric. First is on data. This is quite obvious. It's a privacy needs to be respected and guaranteed. As well, which very much again links to the data, is we need to be aware of the potential biases, historic biases, which come often from human behavior, and then are actually captured by the data and are embedded in the data. So we need to be aware and raise awareness about these biases. And of course, we need to make sure that the implementation of the system does not lead to discrimination due to different reasons, including the biases in the data. Well, but most importantly, we need to understand what are the impacts of the systems on the well-being. And here we need to develop a new approach, and which is very similar to what I've been discussing just a few minutes ago. We need to gather real-time data from the implementation of the systems and try to assess them in terms of the impacts on well-being. And again, this requires a new approach to regulation and new types of the cooperation. It is actually crucial for us to understand the impacts on well-being if we really want to be serious about going so-called the risk-based approach, which has been globally agreed approach to the deployment of the AI systems. But if we do not understand the impacts well, how we actually build the risk-based system. So let me finish with a few words on the societal impacts. And well-being is very broad concept. We don't have too much time to go into it, but maybe I would just refer to the work of the IEEE, the P7000 on the ethically aligned artificial and autonomous systems. And concretely, the P7010, which actually deals with the impact assessment of the AI systems on well-being. What is really important, it's not only the well-being of the individual, but it tries to capture the impact on societal. And of course, understanding the impacts on society at large is paramount for the resilience of our democratic systems. Well, let me wish you a very productive conference, and again, welcome to Prague.
Thank you very much, Dr. Haveda, and really a very inspirational speech. I think we will have time to reflect on all these topics that you brought up during these 3 days. And I like very much your focus on the impact and the impact for people and society, which I think is very, very important. And from the Czech Republic government, we move into the European Commission. And so we have the pleasure to have online Mr. Thomas Kordas, and he's the Deputy Director General of DG Connect at the European Commission. So he excused himself because he would have loved to be here with us, but of course many obligations, he couldn't make it. But he recorded a very inspirational video for us. So I will ask the colleagues in the technical table, please to show us the video. Please enjoy the video.
Ladies and gentlemen, it is an immense pleasure and an honor for me to participate in the European Big Data Value Forum of this year under the Czech presidency auspice. Since last year when we met, a lot has changed, especially the whole geopolitical landscape. The war in Ukraine has brought multiple crises, from very substantial cybersecurity and more broadly security threats, to surging energy prices and to high inflation across the whole of Europe. These multifaceted crises have shown clearly the ever-increasing importance of digital in all strategic sectors and domains of public interest. They also made clear the need to lower our technological reliance on third countries while strengthening our cooperation with like-minded countries. We are now intensifying our efforts to make sure that the EU can capitalize on its strengths and build on open digital sovereignty. The EU's path to the Digital Decade policy program is more than ever driving our implementation strategy in digital through its ambitious 2030 targets. And as you are aware, this is structured around 4 key pillars, namely investing in digital infrastructures, the digital transformation of business, the digital transformation of the public sector, and of course, digital skills. Let me give you a short overview of where we stand on some key initiatives, first from a policy and legislative perspective. Let me start with data. As expressed in the 2020 European Data Strategy, our ambition continues to be to make Europe a leader in the data economy by creating a genuine single market for data. For this, we put in place a groundbreaking data legislation, such as the Data Governance Act and the proposed Data Act. They should ensure trust in data sharing, as well as a fair allocation of data value among the actors involved in the data economy. They will also clarify who can have access to and use what data, and I'm sure you are very closely following all these developments. These initiatives are complemented by a regulatory framework on artificial intelligence, the AI Act, that will help us create the right regulatory and investment conditions to tap into the huge potential of data. While the Data Governance Act has already been adopted, the Czech presidency has managed to achieve substantial progress in the Council negotiations of the Data Act and of the Artificial Intelligence Act. We now hope that the co-legislators will be able to reach agreement under the Swedish presidency. Last February, we have also come up with the CHIPS Act, a 43 billion euro initiative addressing Europe's ambitions in the semiconductor field. Chips, as you know, are at the core of all our digital products and of the digital transformation as such. They are absolutely essential for our industries, including automotive, aerospace, or health, and where the use of AI technologies is also very rapidly developing. Chips are also very powerful enablers for the green transition, a key priority of this Commission, together with digital. Through the CHIPS Act, we aim to put in place the right conditions to invest and build our innovation and production capacities here in Europe and reduce shortages and dependencies in chips. Finally, we have published a proposal on a trusted and secure European digital identity to come up with practical and secure solutions. These will be in the form of a personal digital wallet available to any citizen, resident, or business in the EU, and will be allowing access to public and private digital services across the whole EU. Also for this proposal, the Czech presidency has made considerable progress, and we look forward also to the next steps. Second, let me now move to our strategic initiatives and investment policy in the digital decade. Our implementation strategy focuses on major investments in research and innovation, as well as in large-scale digital infrastructures that are necessary for the digital transformation of our economy and society. Let me give you a few concrete examples. First, by starting from research and innovation. We're just about to publish the Horizon Europe Work Programme 23-24 with investments of the order of 1 billion euros. A significant proportion of this budget will be spent on maintaining our long-term competitiveness in data, robotics, artificial intelligence, and quantum technologies. For example, in AI, we will continue investing in new machine learning and deep learning methods and the involvement of industry and users in large-scale pilots demonstrating the AI trustworthiness. In data, we will invest further in maturing the technology readiness of data technologies which we supported in the previous years, so that these can be deployed in the common European data spaces, thus ensuring an optimal data availability for artificial intelligence development. Given that I'm speaking on the stage of the European Big Data Value Forum, I would like to highlight here the importance of ADRA, the AI, Data and Robotics Association, of which the Big Data Value Association is a co-founder. Your BDVA association makes it possible to join forces and integrate a wide range of stakeholders into the activities of the AI, Data and Robotics Partnership in Horizon Europe. I trust that ADRA continues to grow thanks to the participation of other members of your BDVA association. Now let's move to computing. Here we will focus on further integrating small data processing capacities to create a cloud to edge to Internet of Things computing continuum. The introduction of AI will help to automate the management of these computing resources. Research and innovation investments in this area will complement the important project of common European interest on next generation cloud and edge, which was pre-notified by member states in April this year. Finally, we will also invest in advanced extended reality technologies that contribute to strengthening European sovereignty solutions in the metaverse at a time where this is gaining interest and increasing investments in other parts of the world. Metaverse is one of the pressing challenges ahead of us, as mentioned by Commission President von der Leyen at her last September State of the Union letter of intent. Europe needs to have a prominent role in shaping future metaverses so that these reflect European values, principles, and strategic interests from the outset. This is the only way for Europe to ensure that it takes advantage of the business and societal opportunities that these developments will create. Beyond research and innovation, we're also investing in European capabilities and large-scale digital infrastructures. One of our key initiatives is the creation of common European data spaces in several different areas, from manufacturing and agriculture to health and mobility and to tourism and skills. We're now investing in a number of common support actions that lay the basis for the development of sectoral data spaces. In a second phase, we will support a large deployment of all these data spaces based on common architectural requirements. For this, we will soon procure open-source cloud-to-edge smart middleware building blocks to operationalize and federate all these data spaces and foster their wide use within and across sectors. These investments would amount to hundreds of millions of euros. We're also investing in building edge-to-cloud infrastructures and services that will allow businesses to use this data. For the digital decade, you know that we have set the concrete target to deploy 10,000 climate-neutral, highly secure edge nodes in the EU by 2030. No organization in Europe, whether public or private, should be further away than 100 kilometers from the nearest edge node. Local data processing will therefore become available for the development of low-latency applications and data collection needed to fuel sectoral data spaces. At the same time, we're also massively investing in artificial intelligence capabilities, setting up AI testing and experimentation facilities in many member states. These will help us take advantage of the data spaces and support bringing innovative solutions to the market with a focus on high-impact sectors such as health, agri-food, manufacturing, and smart cities and communities. In parallel, we support in all member states the creation and operation of several digital innovation hubs, which are focused on providing support services to SMEs on artificial intelligence, for example. Our total level of investments in this MFF will probably exceed 700 million euros. Another infrastructure of key importance for Europe is high-performance computing. Since 2018, under the Euro-HPC joint undertaking, we keep investing with 32 participating countries to deploy and operate a world-class high-performance computing infrastructure and master in Europe the underlying technologies that are needed for future European supercomputers. Just a bit later this week, the next supercomputer will be inaugurated in Bologna, Italy. With this supercomputer in the global top 4 and another 6 supercomputers that are already deployed across Europe and are in operation, Europe is making available a formidable state-of-the-art supercomputing infrastructure accessible to all researchers and industry players. As you know, this infrastructure is widely used, and actually there are more than 800 scientific, industrial, and societal applications that can be implemented via this HPC infrastructure. And examples here that I could mention are from discovering materials and chemicals, in crisis management, in precision agriculture, in manufacturing, in understanding the climate change, or in personalized medicine and healthcare. It is the basis for exploiting big data and developing advanced AI capabilities. But we are still in the beginning of Europe's ambitions in supercomputing, since in the next few years we will continue investing in ever more powerful supercomputers, and notably in exascale supercomputers, but also in quantum computers, which will also be accessible to all public and private users all across the EU. We expect that our overall level of investments in this MFF will exceed 2 billion euros. Finally, I would like to stress the importance of our cooperation with like-minded countries that I mentioned at the beginning. Topics like free flow of data, AI, semiconductors, supercomputing, and quantum technologies are key digital technology topics that we have included in digital partnership agreements that we are now signing with such countries. Examples include the trade and technology councils with the US and with India, but also the digital partnership with Japan. Others are also under preparation right now. The role of industry players to deliver on these partnerships will be absolutely essential. In conclusion, and despite the multifaceted geopolitical challenges that we are facing, we are keeping the digital investment cap in Europe stable and are even accelerating it. We're on the right path to building our digital sovereignty. I'm very pleased to see that major stakeholders like you are committed to the digital transformation and to making Europe one of the most advanced digital regions in the world. In this context, I wish you very useful, very fruitful exchanges throughout the different sessions of this forum. Thank you very much.
For Mr. Skordas. And of course, he's not here with us today, but please, the colleagues from the European Commission, send him our big thanks for this also inspirational speech. And you know that we will cover some of the topics that he mentioned, including topics of HPC, and even topics like the metaverse are in the agenda of our event. So thank you. So now we pass to welcome our organizers with some welcome notes. And I would like to welcome to Mr. Witte Vondrak, and he's Director of IT Innovations at the Technical University of Ostrava. Thank you very much. Welcome.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, dear participants of European Big Data Value Forum, so it's also my really honor to welcome you here at this event on behalf of the Czech co-organizer of this event, which is National Supercomputing Center IT for Innovations, which is located at the VSB Technical University of Ostrava. By the way, it is not a coincidence that this is the supercomputing center, which is a member of Big Data Value Association and which co-organizes this conference. Because nowadays, you know, the supercomputers are not only limited for the advanced numerical simulations, but supercomputers right now really supports also the artificial intelligence, high-performance data processing, and so on. And in this regard, I am really very happy that for the first time in the really rich conference program, we found a, let's say, slot for the session which is really dedicated for supercomputing, high-performance computing. This is the session about the Euro HPC joint undertaking. Sorry, what was already mentioned by Deputy Director General Thomas Kordas. And Euro HPC joint undertaking is really aiming for the building of the computing and data infrastructure, but this is also really something what is going to develop the entire ecosystem to support HPC, high-performance data analytics, or artificial intelligence. And in this direction, I am a double pleasure that the Czech Republic through our institution operates one of the Euro HPC supercomputers here in the Czech Republic. And we are also the member of the so-called LUMI consortium, which operates the biggest supercomputing in Europe. So that's all the activities which really we also provide to our users. Users also from communities of artificial intelligence, big data, and so on. And I hope these communities will use those resources in the future even more than before. From this point of view, I am also very pleased that we are going to also to host one of the quantum computer, which will be in operation in 2024 here in the Czech Republic. So this will be one of the 6 first installation of the quantum computers of Euro HPC. And again, I believe that this will also be a really powerful instrument to support also the activities in the topic of the Big Data Value Association. So finally, let me conclude my speech with really wishing you a really fruitful event. I wish you also a lot of interesting information. I wish you also to find here a really good collaboration, and simply so enjoy the event, and thank you very much.
Thanks to you and also to the overall team working behind the organizers. It has been fantastic. So now we move to the next organizer or co-organizer. I would like to invite Professor Tomasz Skopal, who is Vice Rector for IT of the Charles University of Prague. Welcome and thank you again.
Thank you very much. I would like to pass greetings from our rector, Professor Králíčková. And I would give a few notes. Of course, the topics of big data and AI are traditionally related to technological domains. And at the university, it was also a long time a domain of relatively narrow parts of the university, close to the computer science research and connected. But nowadays, we are witnessing actually development in this regard, and we witness that multiple parts of the university actually naturally adopt the technologies that include big data and AI into their common routing as a platform for research and also education. We can see it even in the humanities that are now adopting the best practices and use AI technologies as tool in their work. And of course, this is not just organic development. We also are seeing the movement from the legislation level. So we must adopt our processes with respect to the regulations about open science. So we need to prepare projects for creating HPC centers at the university, science repositories for big data, of course. and also prepare the students and the staff of the universities to work on this new level, because we have also seen in the past 2 years of the pandemic that the digitization process is much more important than the universities thought it would be, because without remote teaching we were not capable of operation the last 2 years. So it becomes a very strong point nowadays, and we see the development very rapid and also challenging for the university environment, because these changes are happening quite quickly. I would also mention that the Charles University is a founding member of the Prague AI Consortium. That is one activity that contributes to the dissemination of the AI skills to the population, because for example, the Prague AI Minor, which is a program, educational program of this consortium, has quite a number of graduates nowadays, and it's not only focused on the computer science experts or students, but it's more open to domains that are far from the core technical background. So the university, not just Charles University, I believe that all of the universities take seriously the challenges that bring the AI technologies to the practical life, and will reflect it in also education and research, and creating a platform and infrastructure to support it in many ways. So I would like to wish you a very successful conference, and thank you for attention.
Thank you very much also for making the time, for being with us today. And then our final co-organizer, local co-organizer, so we have the pleasure to have Thomas Mildorf, who is the chairman of Plan for All. Thank you for coming.
Okay. Warm welcome also from our side, from Plan for All, a BDVA member, which is maybe 2 years back we became members of BDVA. Welcome in Prague, also called sometimes at the heart of Europe, so that's why also the motto of this conference, of this forum is coming from. I have a few slides to accompany my presentation, so I would like to ask colleagues to put it on. Please, the next one. I will just briefly go through the way, through the journey and processes, how we ended up here on the stage as co-organizers of this big data value forum. So Plan for All originally was a project, eContent Plus. Some of you might remember that funding program, where we did together with other partners, about more than 20 partners, some experiments in spatial data harmonization, and contributed to the Inspire directive, specifying some data specification for spatial planning data. Next one, please. About 3 years later, we got another project funded already in FP7, which was called Plan for Business. There we tried to engage with SMEs, with businesses, to use open data, including the spatial plans we developed in Plan for All, and we harmonized in some applications, in some commercial applications. So there was some kind of core business plan for the association founded. Next one, please. And it was only in 2015 when the association was set up and registered at the court in Pilsen. Next one, please. And if we have a look at nowadays situation, so we are a member association, so we have also members similarly to BDVA. We have 62 members all over the world. Most of them are, of course, based in the Czech Republic and in Europe. We have participated in multiple European projects, which you can see the logos on the screen. And we are a recognized and fully operational European digital innovation hub recognized by the Commission. Next one, please. So in addition, being a proud member of the BDVA, we are also, next one, please. We are also proud members of other associations. As I mentioned at the beginning, we are mainly, our main expertise in spatial data harmonization and utilization using AI and other techniques. We are most proud of being a participating member of the group of Earth observations of OGC. Many of you obviously know the Open Geospatial Consortium, GODAN, the Global Open Data for Agriculture and Nutrition, and some others. We are also a Czech national node for the RDA, the Research Data Alliance. Next one, please. And that's just to conclude. Big Data Value Forum ends with the forum, which is in small letters, but I think it's the most important message here, really, to go to the definition of that I found at the Oxford Advanced Learners Dictionary, which defines a forum as an event or medium where people can exchange opinions and ideas on a particular issue. So please do so, engage with others, also with us. I'm here with my colleague, Karel Charvat, who you might probably know as well. We are ready to exchange ideas, and again, warm welcome, and enjoy Prague and the forum.
Thank you very much, Thomas. And we move from Thomas to Thomas. This is the event of the Thomas, because we have how many already in this introduction? So I would like to welcome, actually, we have gone through the local organizers, and now, so BDVA is organizer of this conference as well, and it's my great pleasure to invite our president, Mr. Thomas Hahn, on a stage. He's also Chief Expert Software at Siemens. Thank you, Thomas.
Yeah. Many thanks. Many thanks, and I think, Thomas, I can use this word. You said it. We have a great community here, a great cooperation, like you highlighted. Many thanks. But first, thanks is to Minister Havrada, to the Czech Republic for the hospitality here, for the great speech you have done at the beginning. To make this happen, also during the EU presidency from the Czech Republic, and to make it here, and it's really a pleasure, and of course, very nice city, I can tell you. But obvious, not needed to. Also, many thanks to you, and applause to you, and to the Czech Republic, making this happen here. And of course, many thanks to the members, to all the members, but I want only to touch three, because with this 250 members would be too long, and we'll miss the panel. But I want especially thanks to Charles University supporting us. As Jan, we had, don't ask me how many calls in the last month. Then for IT for Innovation, I think is also important. HPC, Supercomputing Center. As you know, BDVA is one of the private members of the Euro HPC joint undertaking, especially to have the application side to bring this, let's say, to the HPC community. And coming back, also the minister's word to creating impact, but let's say the right impact. I think that is the message. Then, of course, plan for all supporting the innovation hubs. But I missed one person, and it's, this event, the Big Data Value Association, the European Big Data Value Forum. It's existing now since 2017. We are, let's say, always in the second half of the year in the country holding the presidency, EU presidency. And since this time, we were supported from the Commission and the past, today, and in the future, and it's many thanks to Ivo. Ivo is a director of the Data Directorate in Brussels, so now maybe I have to say I call Luxembourg, maybe you are, and hopefully you can hear us, can probably not see us, but probably we see you soon. Ivo, the stage is yours.
Yes, good morning. Can you see me? Can you hear me?
Hearing is perfect, and now we see you. Everything is
okay, perfect.
And you are,
Okay.
and maybe you are in your office in Luxembourg.
Today I'm in my home office. Actually.
Oh, your home office.
So
okay, good.
Yeah. No, so many thanks, Thomas, for the invitation to speak here. Even though I'm not called Thomas, much appreciated. So it's always a pleasure to be at the EBDVF. I couldn't make it physically, but here I am from my home office. And I would also like to thank the presidency, not only for co-organizing this event, but also for all the fantastic work that has been done on data, and perhaps there's more to come. Now, Thomas Kordas has already sketched the broader environment, the wider picture around digital, and I'm going to focus on the European data strategy and the data spaces, where we stand and where we think we are going. Now, the data strategy, in a way, it's also the expression of the growing political interest in data. 20 years ago, that was not the case, I can tell you. Now, there's heads of state and government who actually adopt conclusions about data and what needs to be done in the data economy. And of course, there's very good reasons for that. We all know that. Data is essential for the development of new digital products, services. No AI without data. And it's also incredibly important for the productivity of companies across the board. Then there is the societal benefits. You all know it. Data is going to help us improving health, well-being, sustainability, transparent governance, public services, you name it, and data is there. So that's why we have the European Data Strategy. And the strategy was published in 2020, February 2020, and it has an ambition. It has an ambition to make Europe a leader in the data economy and to create also a genuine single market for data. And there's actually 4 parts to the vision behind the strategy. First of all, we would like data to flow between sectors, between member states. We would like ample of data to be available for use. We would like to do data in line with our European values, very important, including a high level of privacy protection. And last but not least, we need clear rules about who can access and use data under which conditions. Now, the strategy is being implemented through legislation. Yes, we've got a number of legal acts, but it should be seen in combination with the investments that we're doing through our funding programs. So these two go hand in hand. This is not about legislation or investments. No. It's really a holistic strategy. And let me then turn to the data legislation first. Now, one of the big instruments we put on the table has been adopted already. After 1 year, the Data Governance Act. It's about increasing trust in data sharing and regulating the organizations that bring the demand and supply of data together. It's going to be applicable as of September next year, and it's going to provide a very solid basis for the creation of these common European data spaces that you have heard about already. The Data Governance Act does not try to regulate how the data spaces should be set up. That can be done on a case-by-case basis. Also, the Data Governance Act has established the European Data Innovation Board. Keep an eye on that group because it's going to be very important. It's a high-level expert group. It will start its work in September next year, and it will steer important work on the policies, but also on standards for data sharing across the data spaces. Now, the second big legislative act on the table under the data strategy is the proposal for a Data Act. There, the Czech presidency has made considerable progress in getting to an agreement. Now, things go well in the negotiation overall, both in the Parliament and in the Council. So let's see when it can go through the system. Now, what do we want to do with the Data Act? We would like to make sure that there's more data available for use, but at the same time respecting legitimate interest of companies that actually invest in the tools and technologies for generating the data. It's about the question, what is fair? Now, everyone would like to get the full value of data. There is no value in the data, but who's actually going to get this value? And if we don't find a good distribution key, actually no one is going to get the value of the data. So that's a big one to solve. Now, you see that, for example, for connected objects, IoT data, there, the Data Act makes sure that if you buy an object, you actually can also have some value out of the data and some control of what happens with the data, while at the same time keeping the possibility for manufacturers, for example, to use the data as they have been doing so far. Now, last thing I would like to mention on the legislative front is the Open Data Directive, and actually our thrust towards opening up more government data. It has been paid for by the taxpayer, should be open for all to use. And there, very soon, we're going to adopt an implementing act on high-value data sets that's going to make a lot of government data available for free in machine-readable format and through APIs. So that's ideal material to work with also for AI. I turn now to the funding. First of all, Horizon Europe. We will continue to fund research and innovation in key areas, big data analytics, HPC, AI, and the aim is to boost the development of new applications, products, and services in the European data economy. Now, cooperation between the stakeholders in the different areas is a key priority, and that's why the European Partnership on AI, Data, and Robotics is so important. And also ADRA, the Association for AI, Data, and Robotics, it's the private side of this partnership, has a very important role to contribute to the research initiatives on data and the development of the technologies that are needed. And we would like as many of you as possible to join the association. Now, the data spaces, you heard already something about it from Thomas Skordas. Again, why do we need these data spaces? Well, when we wrote the data strategy, we realized that when you talk about different sectors and about data, they have many things in common, but they also have differences. Health data is, for example, different from manufacturing data in terms of personal data, non-personal data, or involvement of the governments. Now, that's why we are creating and developing these common European data spaces. And what's a data space? A data space is basically a combination of the IT infrastructure and the governance. That can be legislation, but it can also be agreements between the stakeholders. Now, Thomas said it already, Thomas Skordas. In the current phase of the digital program, we are funding common support actions, and they are going to lay the basis for everything that comes after. Based on the results of these common support actions, we are going to go into a second phase with the full rollout of these common European data spaces. And digital is also going to support open source, cloud-to-edge middleware infrastructures that actually can underpin all these data spaces. Now, a data space support center has actually been launched recently, and it's going to be crucial for the rollout of the data spaces. And it has to provide basically guidance for all the different data spaces, to provide common tools, and it's also going to work on the standardization and be the operational arm of the Data Innovation Board. Lastly, it should make sure that member states' funding can be combined with the European funding. I'm getting to my my closing remarks, Thomas. So the BDVA has been very successful. It has had a very strong and created a very strong, broad and diverse community. It actually also has bootstrapped the groundwork for data spaces. A lot has been done already. And it has leveraged 7 times the EC investments from the private side of the public-private partnership that was there, through academia, through industry, and all the members of the BDVA. Now, we're at a pivotal moment for the data economy, and we have to act now. And we need your help for that. We need your help for taking this agenda forward, technologies, data spaces, and legislation. Now, this is really a common endeavor, and close cooperation between all the stakeholders, including public and private sector partners, is essential to succeed. Now, this conference is another little step to make things happen. So let's do it.
So, Ivo, many thanks. Also, the very nice words about BDVA and raising a little bit the bar what we have to achieve. Also, well, yes, it's okay. I like this. So now we are going over to a little bit short panel, but we will keep it in time because Ivo, I think you have to leave at 12:45 sharp. But we will make it, and let's say a short panel addressing the right topics is more useful than a big one and maybe a long one. So I want to invite Minister, also Ivo, you are on stage anyway. So I will keep you here in the background in a big screen, I can tell you. So I invite Mr. Havrata to come on the stage, onto the panel, onto the stage. Then Teresa next, Jan and David. First David, yeah, here, sorry, I've just, perfect. And when you are sitting down, let's say, maybe Anna, take your mic. Okay, okay, perfect. So I'm going, good. So, okay, perfect. Okay, so we are all on stage, including Ivo in the background. And the panel is how does a strong ecosystem for data and AI contribute to the strategic resilience of the European economy? Question marks. Or question mark. Let's say this is a title. I think you explained, Minister Havrata, very well that the resilience topic is one of the priorities which you have addressed during the presidency. And I will not recap all the very clear words and what is behind this. I would only touch, let's say, you've spoken about supply chains, you've spoken about green digital transition, you have spoken about digital automation, you have spoken about impact, only to give you some kind of or kind of thoughts. And that's the reason why we linked, let's say also event here, but also to panel to these topics which I addressed before in the wonderful keynote speech. Maybe I'm just allowed, coming also from industry, only reflect on 3 use cases which tackling this, only to give a little bit and some kind of thoughts inside. When you're speaking, for example, sustainability, to reduce the CO2 footprint, to know what is the CO2 footprint is along the complete chain or value chain or network or however you're describing this, then you see on your own shop floor the scope 1, 2, which is maybe 10 to 30%. Also meaning the remaining parts, the 70%, are somewhere outside. It's depending what you are producing, but only take it. And remember, 20% of the CO2 emission is related to the industry production, only to give you a feeling about what this is. So second issues, when you're speaking about rare material, speaking about batteries, what material you need for this, when you know how the battery is produced, the lifetime of the battery, the digital twin you mentioned, then as a good positive measure is you can recycle 96% of the ingredients of the battery. Also meaning the one is, let's say, sustainability, the other one is a circular economy, to recycle this with advantage what we can create. Energy, everything is obvious that we have in doing this. And when you're speaking about the supply chain, and I have David from Valeo on site, we are targeting, let's say, also together in the Catena X project, let's say, the complete value chain over the different tiers up to the destruction of the car and recycling the parts. Only to give you a snapshot from industry, what we are doing, what we are planning to do. But let's start the first round very quick. And the first round is a little bit how data and AI contributing to this topic with a different perspective, from government, from associations, from industry, from research. And maybe, Minister Hatra, maybe the first question to you. You have here a community in front of us. You explained very good about what is behind your thoughts, what you have addressed during the presidency. What is your expectation to us? Maybe just you know, Ivo have raised the bar a little bit. Maybe you're raising also the bar a little bit, because you have here really the crowd together from associations, standardization bodies are present, research, industry, and whom I forgot, I apologize immediately.
Thank you very much for your kind words, and I will take the challenge.
Yeah.
Well, you know, I think it is really important to use scientific method in general for understanding the impacts of the systems. And maybe I don't have to talk too much to this community, but the simplification which we're facing, let's say, from the other communities is always huge. You know, very simple causalities are envisaged, and they're just not often correct. So I think the challenge would be to really work on the understanding of the impacts, both intended and unintended, and understanding the causalities between the intended and unintended impacts. So, and you know, just to be more clear about this, I would just refer back to the well-being lens, because there is a number of well-established approaches which you can use, but of course each of them there is then underlying scientific methodology. And of course, this goes from the impacts at the well-being level, but as well it goes in terms of the impacts, as you mentioned, on environment, and of course we need to be in the life cycle analysis, etc., etc. So it's really crucial we try to deploy these methodologies which are already best established, and we work with them. And the challenge for the community is, I think, to work on the very concrete use cases, to gather the data and start building on them, because this is how you actually go forward.
Many thanks for your words, and you're right, the use cases mentioned Catena X. They started just from the beginning with two handful of use cases, very concrete, because it makes it touchable, including, let's say, the different partners, community in overall, not touching in detail. And you're right, also the impact analysis. You know, we have, I think, don't ask me, half of the session tomorrow is regarding artificial intelligence impact. We have today in the afternoon also an impact and sessions about trusted AI, how we can make this visible to the community with Etami. This is an association will project join us really, and to touch this, to bring the crowd together. But maybe coming back to some kind of company perspective, maybe David, in a large company, like Valeo. How do you think the data and AI make, besides the targets which we all have to achieve, which we discussed before, how this makes your company more competitive, resilient? How you're contributing with this to the Green Deal, and you know why an ecosystem just here is relevant?
Okay, thank you for the question. I was asked to briefly give some use cases, just a brief introduction of the company. So Valeo is actually tier 1 supplier to all car manufacturing companies. From our products, we are able to build the full car. But here I will be speaking mainly about the sensory, the perception stack of the products that we are developing, that produce big data, that enable application of machine learning models, AI methods. In in our product, basically, we have two main use cases for AI and for machine learning. One is really developing the functionality, the so-called ADAS systems. ADAS stands for Advanced Driver Assistance Systems. And you may know that there are different levels of autonomy of a car, spanning from level 0 up to level 5, where level 0 means no assistance at all. Level 5 is a car without the steering wheel. And in order to develop these systems, we are developing these ADAS, individual ADAS modules from which we build the fully autonomous car. So one of the main use cases is really developing the system which is running in the car in a specific hardware and is processing the data from the individual sensors, such as cameras, lasers, radars, and ultrasonics. And here you see a few of these examples just for cameras. So we need to solve several tasks. For example, on the upper right corner, you see strangely looking pattern, which is basically water drops on a car-mounted camera. So we have externally mounted sensors. We need to be also solving these kind of supportive tasks like dirty sensors. Another task in the lower right corner is a pedestrian or a person detection system. To increase the safety of self-driving, we of course need to detect various road users, especially for safety. We need to be very, very precise with detecting people. For example, one of the systems which we developed was for General Motors. In the US, they have right now mandatory rear camera because they were killing 10 children every week when they were going with their car out of the garage because they didn't see them in the rear mirrors. So basically, one of the assistance systems is increasing safety while detecting people. So this is the object detection, I would say, task. And on the lower left corner, you see an image where there are multiple tasks combined, which are the current systems used for level 3 systems. And that's a combination of detecting people, cars, cyclists, motorcyclists, etc., together with semantic segmentation. You see in strange colors the road, the lanes. The strange colors means we need a decision for every pixel. And these perception tasks are actually the thing which is still the most difficult for a machine. For a person, for a human being, when he or she is learning to drive, we are learning to operate the car, we are learning to plan the maneuvers, and we take for granted the perception. We immediately know what we see, it's easy for us. The maneuvering and the operation is difficult. For these ADAS systems, it's vice versa. So planning for the motion when you have the perfect model of the world, and operating the steering wheel, brake, and throttle is basically very easy for the car, but what is very difficult is perception. Really recognizing what the car sees from its sensors, it's the challenge, and that's where we put the biggest effort when developing these systems. Big data is implied here, so all of these systems are using some machine learning models. They are giving us these decisions and this perception and this description of the world, which is out there, and based on that we plan our maneuvers. So this is one use of big data. Where we use, I would say, big data squared is system validation. Every one of these systems needs to be tested thoroughly before it goes to manufacturing. And there, for example, for level 3 systems, we need to capture 33,000 hours of driving with this one system over all the world to validate it, to see how it performs, where it fails, where it doesn't fail, before it goes to production. And that's really, I would say, where we are gathering from our sensors something like 6 gigabytes of data each second, therefore generating, for the level 3 systems, tens or hundreds of petabytes of data for each system. If you don't know, petabyte is 1 million of gigabytes, right? So it's a huge amount of data which we are processing and we need to process, and this is impossible to process manually. So we really have to use AI, and it's very much beneficial to use AI, and to gather these large statistics which allows us to put the system into the world. We are basically destroying 5 cars for every system, right? We drive 1.2 million kilometers with every system to do this kind of statistics. So this gives me an opportunity to talk a little bit about reducing CO2 footprint and going greener. it's not a choice, it's mandatory, even if we wouldn't want to, we have to, because it's super expensive to operate this fleet of cars and transport huge amounts of data all over the world with all the GDPR regulations, etc. So we are developing models and systems and AI methods that are helping us to virtualize the task, especially of system validation, also for training of these models, but also for the validation. What you see on the top row are 5 people, which are all fake. They are generated by deep neural network model, which we developed, and this is just one showcase how we can virtualize the task. For example, you don't have enough data captured on the highway, and you need to know what will happen if you drive 130 kilometers per hour and there is a person standing in front of your car, which you will never test in reality. So basically, we can draw the person in a specific juxtaposition in a place where we want, and we can so-called augment the data for training of the models and also for validating the systems. The second use case, please stop me if I'm too long. The second use case would be for this virtualization and going greener is we are generating nighttime data from daytime images. We never have enough data, and we never have enough objects appearing in nighttime because people are sleeping, they are not in the streets, there are not that many cars. Yet we need to validate our systems also at nighttime. So one of the generative models that we use take as input daytime image and they generate nighttime image. Of course, we do this for not only for images or on cameras. We are processing laser data. We are processing, as I said, radar and ultrasonics. Valo is one of the top manufacturers of car-mounted lidars, so lasers for the car industry. And as a last note for the reducing the CO2 emissions, we are right now able to really fully generate the images. So for given a juxtaposition of objects like trees, cars, pedestrians, we can fully generate the image and really test what the system does. So we need to have full control. And why we need these 33,000 hours, it's really given by statistics that's reported by European Union, how many hours people drive at night, how many hours people drive at rain, and we need to build this so-called validation campaign where we need to really collect this amount of data, which is really, really huge. And for level 3, level 4 systems, the safety requirements will be even stricter, and we would have to gather even more data. So we are going virtual, and we need to make the system still reliable, even though we are validating on virtual data, which is a huge topic for development and even a very serious research topic.
David, many things also touching in, let's say, an autonomous driving domain. What are the importance from, what we are doing, what are the safety topics, which of course is also valid in other domains, healthcare, production. Nobody have to be hurt during a production process. Is functional safety, and for sure also with the data. The picture you have seen, that what quality of data you are using, is this faked or not faked, and so on, which is of course valid to all of other domains where we're inside. And Valeo and Siemens, we are, let's say, bigger companies, but when we are putting the mirror ahead of us, maybe we are representing also a small portion of the GDP in the manufacturing domain, and also a number also from Germany. 85% is not coming from the big companies, is more from the small and medium-sized enterprises. You explained, David, very well what are the, let's say, what is needed, how many data, how many tests, how many cars you need, how many simulation. And maybe I want to hand over to Teresa. Teresa, you're leading the Czech Association to support innovation of the Czech business environment, mainly for digital transformation and so on, and mainly also for, make it in quotation marks, traditional industry. And the quotation marks is, we know well that we are all on the street. But maybe I'll explain a little bit how you are doing this, because we have to do it.
That's it. Thanks for having us here, and especially my thanks go to the national members of BDV Association, IT for Innovations and Plan for All. We have with both of them various of our projects, very different ones, and we're collaborating for long years already. So thanks again for inviting me here. Just a technical remark, if you please take my slides and just let them run behind me, because I won't speak about them at all. I wanted to speak about two topics that have been a little bit mentioned here, but yeah, I wanted to a little bit deep dive into the needs of SMEs and the digital transformation processes, because yes, yeah, everybody talks about them, but not everybody knows how hard it is to work with so-called normal SMEs, normal companies. And I would very much thank to Mr. Deputy Minister Havada, who has mentioned that you always need to observe the impact, and it's not valid only for the legislators, but it's also valid for those who are working in bottom-up level, as we are. And if you want to make your clients, your SMEs to become more competitive and more digital, you have always to talk with the impacts, because yeah, it's nice to talk about Industry 4.0, it's nice to talk about digital transformation, but the companies have their sorrows, and they have nowadays very expensive energies, they have very expensive costs of fuels, they have problems with their people, and so on. You can just move the slides, please, and yeah, make them go around. So if you would like to help them in an efficient way, you always have to firstly look at their problems, and then try to explain them that going more digital can help to solve these problems. Every single data values, if you want to be more competitive and more resilient. And now the second topic, which was a little bit mentioned but not emphasized too much, resilience is equal to cyber security, because if you talk about value chains and their resilience, we always know that the weakest element, weakest part of the chain makes the overall resilience of the value chain itself. So if we are talking about bigger companies, if we are talking about research organizations that are collaborating with SMEs and startups, we always need to have a look at them at the possibly weaker or the weakest part of the value chain. And here the cybersecurity needs to be very, very much emphasized if we are talking about resilience. Getting back to the impacts of the Ukrainian war, or better to say Russian war, the cybersecurity challenges have become more urgent than ever. And we are very glad to have in our networks, collaborating networks, and among our project partners also the Ukrainians, and have with them not only a memorandum on understanding and framework collaboration, but also exact running projects in the field of cybersecurity. And it's very, very important to see that there are very precious data on cyber attacks and cybersecurity incidents that can be collected and forwarded to Czech and other European research researchers in the field of cybersecurity, because this is very precious source of data that could be used. And third topic, I do not want to take too much time, but it is necessary to mention not that much has been said about the new network of European digital innovation hubs. Tomáš Mildorf has a little bit mentioned, and thanks for that, that there is a European catalog of digital innovation hubs. There have been newly selected during this year European digital innovation hubs, and if I can may ask the audience among you who are sitting here, who are engaged somehow in a consortium of a European digital innovation hub as a coordinator or a partner or maybe member of such EDIH. Could you please raise your hands? Yeah, not that much. Yeah, not that much. And I would like to emphasize this topic because it's very, very important. Under a Digital Europe program, standardized European network of these European digital innovation hubs is being created nowadays. It's very important to emphasize that standardly governments, regional governments, state administration, research organizations, large companies, business support organizations, but also individual SMEs and startups are being part of these European digital innovation hubs. And this creates a very fruitful ecosystem for further development of digital topics, for further development of digital solutions, and for their immediate implementation into practice. So this would be my initial points, and of course I'm ready to answer your questions, Tomas.
There is many thanks, and you put Ivo raised for bar for me. You raised it indirectly, saying maybe 10% are now participating. Next time, I want to see 30% raised hands, for example. But you are right. The rollout and doing this, it's quite relevant. And you mentioned Industry 4.0. I'm as person also involved in different Industry 4.0 initiative around Europe, especially in Germany, and the rollout is a tricky part, and that's where we have really to scratch our heads how we are doing this. And maybe briefly going back to Luxembourg, Ivo, you explained you're heading with your team the definition implementation of the European data strategy. What is your expectation? What is your expectation also during, you mentioned also DSSC, but you have also a lot of vertical CSA activities based on it. What is your expectation to us, because you have now the complete crowd ahead of you, indirectly, let's phrase it, because you don't see us. So maybe, Ivo, you explain.
Yeah, right. No, thanks for this question, and I also like this notion of raising the bar, Thomas. So now, first of all, I expect that the members of BDVA massively join the partnership on AI, data, and robotics. So that's the first thing. This is going to guide a joint investment of 2.6 billion euros, half by the Commission and half by the partners. And that really requires a broad mobilization. Now, second, I would expect you to contribute to the data spaces for the different sectors in collaboration with the Data Space Support Center. Now, if you have doubts where you fit in, you can always contact this Data Space Support Center or us. And how can you contribute? Well, you can contribute with data assets or by helping to formulate requirements, specification, blueprints, the work on standards, hosting workshops, etc. And I think the next 12 months are going to be crucial for the data spaces. And also there's, of course, the calls for proposals in Digital Europe. Please participate. Now, last, I would like you to support our legislative efforts. The Data Act is the negotiations are going on in full swing in the Parliament, in the Council, and after we came out with our proposal, there were questions. Of course, there's always questions, but we had a very good interaction with the different stakeholders, including industry, and please help us to make the instruments the best possible in the end. Thank you.
Many thanks, Ivo. And coming to some of your statements, regarding the Data Act, the AI Act, I'm also happy that the BDVA community always participating on the consulting phases. I think this is one of the assets which we have really also to stress is maybe the wrong word, also to go ahead also in the future, which we will do. This also with your network. And regarding data spaces, European data spaces, maybe only to highlight, this is maybe not everybody, I expect nearly 90% or above 90% knowing regarding the Data Space Support Center and the strategy and the calls as the CSA activity, this coordination and support activity across the verticals and happily BDVA together with Gaia X, with Fiverr, EDSA, TNO, don't ask me the complete list, under lead of Fraunhofer, were successful applying this. Also, when you have some question regarding this, DSSC, I think you find here the right people, let's phrase it in this way, and we knowing what we are addressing. And this is a good message, because I mentioned this, there are verticals on top of the CSA activities for verticals, for example, smart manufacturing skills, and others. I will only touch on this. And for the smart manufacturing, we get the Industry 4.0 initiatives. I would say, don't ask me 2-3 handfuls around Europe together to address what is needed from, let's say, for the vertical perspective. So now, Jan, we have to make it happen. We have to get it done. Now we need you. Sorry for this. How can the research support these activities?
Okay, thank you. Thank you for the invitation to this panel. I'm coming from Charles University in Prague, from the computer science, the same place as our vice rector who spoke at the introduction. And specifically, I'm working in language technology. This is a subfield or one of the fields in AI, and we believe, of course, we are working on the technology, that there is no general AI possible without communication with humans in the natural way that people communicate, and that's language. Of course, people communicate by other means as well, but language is one of the most crucial points in this respect. So that's something we are working on. We want to advance the field of AI by working on language technology and various types of language technologies in our research. Now, of course, it goes also the other way around. Language technology actually uses AI methods originally developed for maybe other fields like vision or even working with large data mining and so on. So, of course, we are using lots of data. In our case, we call these data language resources. You can imagine text, audio, video, maybe dictionaries and other things which are related to language in all of its forms. And also we use multimodal data where all these things combine together. And methodologically as well, I mean, we are using standard deep learning methods now prevalent in many fields of AI, also for various types of applications in language technology, typically end-to-end systems, machine translation or other things are actually using large data. And in this respect, I would like to make a little advertisement tomorrow. There is a session at noon about language technology organized by my friend and I think one of the board members of BDVA, Andres Vassilievs, and you are welcome to come to see various use cases of language technology. Now, finally, language is not only part of AI or will be crucial for the general types of AI that we are heading to, but also it can help just by itself, by breaking the language barriers. Now, I'm coming to the topic of resilience, single digital market in Europe, where the language can help. I mean, Europe, as opposed to many other places in the world, is typical or special by having many, many languages, not just the official ones, but also many others which are official in certain regions. And because of the world is not just limited to Europe, we also need to have technologies for the other parts of the world for various reasons, from security to economical cooperation. So this is something which is very important, and also what is important, because everything is data-driven, and we all know that the small languages typically have small data, we also have to work on what we call the digital language equality. And some of our projects, some of our European projects are aimed at that, to see how we can help the so-called small languages, or the languages with less resources, to actually be at the same level as the big ones in terms of quality and the tools available and the modules available for building big AI systems and using them in applications.
Many, many thanks, Jan. And you know, you have to be curious when a person from industry is saying, we need you from research. Let's see. And coming back to only to add one additional topic regarding analyze the impact of AI, analyze the impact in overall, you know, the explainability and what happening when you're training the machine with which data, how it explains this on the one side, and the other side explains this also in the now I'm coming back to the language for the domain experts, because, you know, coming from industry, you understand a closed loop controller with some kind of the parameters, but you don't understand it. Don't ask me how many data sets you're needing to doing this. Also we need you. That was my message. So now in the last 4 minutes, and Ivo, as promised, I make it in time. Let's say, what do you think should be done? What is needed in one word as next step? Maybe Ivo, or 2 words, something. What is needed? Just out of the stomach.
I would say work on the soft infrastructure for data sharing, including the technological underpinning. Sorry, that was not one word.
That's not a problem, but it should be one word. Maybe we go to Teresa.
Yes, I will be also very short. So if you want to learn more about the Czech ecosystems to support digital transition and digital innovation, let you come to us and our CNO platform. If you would like to collaborate on international data spaces sharing, let you join our efforts to create the Czech National Gaia X Hub. And if you are interested in the cybersecurity, let you stay in touch with our Cybersecurity Innovation Hub, one of the 5 Czech selected European digital innovation hubs. That's it.
Perfect. Maybe you're just going over to Mr. Rada.
Yeah, well, I will just follow on what Ivo said. I think that soft infrastructure is really crucial, and this takes me to my leitmotif of my talk, and that was the new types of cooperation between businesses, research community, and government at the end.
Mm-hmm. Jan.
Okay, in one word, it will be too difficult, but I have 5 words.
That's all right, accepted.
5 areas. One has been mentioned already twice, and that's the infrastructure. That's something we also work on for many, many years, to have the data available, in our case, language for a language technology. We are still very far from that. There are legal obstacles and so on, but that's something we definitely need to have. The other thing is fundamental research. It is very often said, okay, we paid you lots of money before, where are the results? But I think if you look around, the AI as we know it is very far from general AI as we want it. So we still need to invest into maybe completely different methods that we know today, and to do fundamental research, at least from my point of view, on language. The third, we need some money to do it, and education, of course, to have skilled people to do this. And finally, this all translates to something what we call the Human Language Project. That's something we have offered many times. In fact, the European Parliament supports this idea very much by its 2018 resolutions. We have produced, in cooperation with many partners across Europe, a strategic research and innovation agenda for language technology, and we hope finally the Commission will listen to us. Thank you.
Okay, perfect. This was for Ivo. Okay, David.
Okay, I also cannot use just one word. So if it would be one word, it's money. Money solves everything. If I should split it down a little bit, it's we need, especially for the big data processing, we need more supercomputers. So I'm glad that we have IT4I. We need good engineers. We have good engineers, especially in Czech Republic, but they are living abroad. So we need good engineers to stay here. We need more engineers, more. And last but not least, we need legislation, which is, so right now the technology is more advanced than the legislation in Europe. Germany is a little bit advancing faster than the rest of the Europe here, especially for the autonomous driving, but the third pillar would be stronger legislation.
Perfect. So many thanks. And you know, maybe I'm also allowed, also as a moderator, I think the one important, and you mentioned this was very open across different disciplines, also across borders, ecosystem, because nobody can do this alone. We have to address this together. And many thanks. And now I'm closing the panel. Ivo, thanks for participating remote. Thanks to all of you participating here on stage. And before the lunch, we have only some short messages about the organization, because we have seen a lot of booths. Anna said, don't ask me how many sessions we have. And I will also say a little bit about, not surprisingly, a little bit about the strategy, but it will not take longer than 15 minutes. So the panelists can stay. Thanks. Okay. Maybe, let's say some journey, and it was briefly mentioned from Ivo before, what the VDVA Association has done in the past, and let's say also some kind of snapshot, what's next. Or what we're doing, not only in the past, what we're doing actually, and what we are, let's say, what in snapshot, what is going ahead. You know, I think needless to cover about data strategy, AI strategy, digital transformation, and so on. This is an overachieving target where we are working all together. It's not myself, it's not Anna, it's not the team. We are all working on this. And Ivo mentioned this. We have also achieved a significant amount of private investment in the last period, and looking forward to make it in a similar way in the future. That's why let's say BDVA is existing, and as you said, and you know, I think my last word, I think, and community ecosystem in and for Europe, I would say it, what we are targeting. And here on the bottom you see some kind of the journey, which is maybe the past, but active topics. You know, we are starting from the big data value. Big data was a term, I think some kind of analyst used this several years ago. Important for us were always the word value, because this is creating to achieve something. Then we have the partnership, AI, data and robotics, with research communities, Claire, Alice, Euro AI, the Euro robotics community, which is somehow covered regarding the ATRA association, like mentioned before. Private member of the joint undertaking. I think somebody mentioned this in the morning, and I see maybe Claire here, Laura here in the room, regarding we are working also together with a quick consortium for quantum computing. As BDVA, we are private member. have always the opportunity to participate in the governing board. I think this week, I think, is the next announcement or introduction or going live for the next HPC center in Italy. Pity that it cannot be, would be great, but you know, to have the simulation, to have the digital twin simulated, we need these HPC capabilities. Only to give you one snapshot, the Transcontinuum initiative, and last but not least, also the Data Space Business Alliance, which we're founding together, which is open also to others. That's not a closed job. Also, meaning this is somehow showing, let's say, a little bit where we have worked when you're looking, or still working, but looking to the right side, what we are targeting. This is a slide, some of the BDVA members saying, oh, come on, again, this boring slide from Thomas. You know, when you're looking at the landscape here on the left side, more the private, on the right side, more the public, and again, apologies, maybe don't ask me X% of the initiatives I'm missing, my apologies, but it's somehow showing, let's say, a little bit, and let's say digital data, AI-related initiatives in Europe, private side, or what are the public initiatives like the IPSAI program, like the alliances, CHIPS Act, I think was mentioned from Thomas Kordas in the beginning, Data Act and AI Act, at least was mentioned also from Ivo. And you see here roughly which are, let's say, some of the partners, HPC, the GaiaX, the initiatives also with some kind of lighthouse projects. I think the smart infrastructure, simple, was mentioned from Thomas Kordas, where we're looking how the infrastructure can look like. The data spaces, obvious, this is the Data Space Business Alliance with the Data Space Support Center project, and to create impact, where you see, my apologies, coming from manufacturing industry. I'm always tending to highlight a little bit manufacturing, but knowing also that, for example, in health and other tourism, Spain just launched initiative, also other vertical applications. So that is somehow a landscape and reflecting a little bit also how it is linked to the public side. And when you're looking now, and this is also green boxes from BDVA, you know, private member of Euro HPC on the button, collaboration with Transcontinuum, Alliance for Industrial Data, Cloud Edge, and GaiaX. Also, we are cooperating here also with some kind of the public initiatives. Then you hear data space, of course, is somehow not our home turf where we're coming from, but obvious because you need data to have AI, and you need the right data. Where we have regarding data protection, data and AI technologies, extreme scale analytics with the partners. We are looking to target this. And then, of course, pushing forward to industrial and trustworthy AI jointly with partners. And we have in the afternoon, I think at 4 o'clock, a session regarding Itami, how we are looking also how trusted AI, how this can be done. Coming back to you words, Mr. Haurata, what is the analysis of the impact, how we can show this, how we can make it explainable, what is ongoing. And then, of course, the vertical initiative. So this is somehow the strategy. We're doing it alone. I think, Teresa, you mentioned the hubs. Here you see on the right side an overview about the different hubs, because you know we have also to bring it to the different region to have some kind of access point. And to be honest, this hub is only one side of the medal. The other side of the medal that we are cooperating also with, as you have seen with GaiaX, IDS, and Fiverr, they have also hubs. Maybe different flavor of the hubs, but this network we are just bringing together. I think Teresa mentioned the GaiaX hub, when I remember correctly. So that's the reason why we bring in one complete overview of what is needed. Of course, overview is one, but to create something out of this is the next topic. So, and maybe I think, Anna, you are taking now over.
stay because it's only 5 to 10 minutes, and I mean the stage is small and the room is big, so better to have 2 people, so than only one. So Thomas, and we will have different announcements during the week, during the 3 days, and let's touch on one of those. So you talked a bit about ETAMI. Maybe can you explain to the colleagues what it is, and maybe inform them about this collaboration?
Yes, for sure. When you're speaking about ETAMI, and don't know if Patrick is in the room, not yet. I don't see him, but maybe he'll arrive. ETAMI, you know, was a project and create processes, tools to enable ethical, trustworthy, and legal AI. That's when we're looking at the homepage, what we want to address. There's a community behind this from industry, but also from research on universities. And it was started in Germany, and now we are bringing, let's say, on a European level. There will be in the afternoon a session about this, and I'm very sure that the ETAMI people can explain much more better, like I can do, what the content is.
Excellent. So thank you very much. And we don't have much time for many announcements, but just also to remind everyone, there will be more coming in other plenaries. As has been mentioned by Ivo Wallman, also by Thomas, let's say one of the things that is different in this event than in previous editions is the launch of the Digital Europe program, and we will have the opportunity of having different sessions that actually bring already some aspects of the data spaces in particular, but also other instruments, and many sessions contributing to content to data spaces. And of course, there are many other sessions, but I just want to somehow give a highlight the data spaces part. And with this, yes, I have certain logistic announcements. So Thomas, you are welcome to stay or to, as you prefer.
Stay here.
So now, you know, we will go all for lunch. That's good, and to do some networking. So everything is happening outside these rooms, but take all your belongings with you. Why? Because we will split this big room in 4. So after the lunch break, we'll have 4 or 5 parallel rooms, but 4 rooms are here and 1 room is downstairs. So in particular, downstairs is the data spaces part, and then the other ones are here, and you have the program, so you can check what session you need to or you want to join. More announcements for you. Yeah, there is a session this afternoon that had to be cancelled because you know that Finnair had a strike today, so many of our Finnish colleagues have been delayed, or actually some had to cancel. And there is a session on leveraging DLTs for the new data economy that is moved to tomorrow. So those interested in the topic, stay with us, because tomorrow the session will take place, but not today. More things. I hope you all know that there is a fantastic app for the event. If you haven't downloaded that, do it, because first there is a lot of information, nice announcements as well. And if you want to do networking with people you don't know, you also have the possibility to contact them through the app and maybe to ask them to meet here or there. So it will help you in your networking. And of course, all information about the sponsors, the organizers, you can find also in the app. And one more, I'm almost there. Visits, you know, we are organizing, thanks also to our local organizers and organizations. We are organizing visits to the Industry 4.0 testbed here in Prague. So some of you who registered, just to let you know, there will be like a shuttle that will take you from here to the venue of the visits, and it's leaving at 5 o'clock this afternoon. And you just need to go downstairs, and there will be people from BDVA waiting for you in the lobby before taking the bus. Okay, and this happens at 5, and then you go to the venue, and then you are back. At 6:30 today, actually at 6, there will be already a cocktail out there, and then we will open all this area, and we will have a very nice moment at 6:30. With our iSpaces and the UHAS for Data Federation. So that happens in the evening. And with this, I really thank you for being here in the plenary. I think it has been great, right?
you.
Thank you very much. Enjoy lunch, and we'll see you all in 1 hour in the different parallel sessions.
Perfect. Thanks a lot. Enjoy lunch.
Okay.